with the official channel posting the 1.0 trailer. I'm wondering why. Is this going to have something to do with Endwalker, or are we going to be making a 1.0 server, or are they going to remake the 1.0 story in 14? What does it mean? We need to get to the corkboard and red string. What does it mean? I am so beyond excited that this happened. Guys, if I'm breaking the news to you, welcome to the channel. My name's Brian, yada, yada, yada. Let's talk about what happened last night. Last night, Square-Enix officially posted the 1.0 trailer over to their official YouTube channel. And comments like Zen1 that we started this video off with are reflected in the comments of my What If series video, as well as on our Discord server, where we're all talking, we're all wondering what could this mean, we're all speculating about the 1.0 trailer and how it ties to the overall grand scheme of Final Fantasy XIV and Endwalker being the end of this epic story, 11 years in the making. I remember poring over this trailer. So what we'll do in this video, kind of like a little preview, we're gonna kind of walk through the trailer itself. I'll give you guys my thoughts. We're gonna break it down. It's been over a decade since I've done so. We have the podcast that we did way back in the day where we talked about this at length, but it's obviously been a long time and we've got a lot of context to go off of. We also know trailers are hype machines. They're not canon, as you would think that, you know, something like Final Fantasy 15's trailers are actually canon, where in the case of 14, they're really meant for hype. They're really meant to build that excitement. However, I think 1.0 is different because they didn't have that philosophy back then. And we'll walk through it. So we're going to step through the entire trailer itself. I would say probably no spoilers are going to exist here, but I'm spoiler biased, right? Like I've got all this knowledge in my head. I've been playing this game for, 11 years. And so as we step into Endwalker, I think that we probably just want to tag a light spoiler warning. Guys, be sure to like and subscribe. You can come check this out if you're worried. However, this is again for 1.0. And I really appreciated Shadowbringers' touch on their trailer, how they called back to the character of 1.0 as well. So that's what we're going to spend a little bit of time on this video, kind of stepping through, because I think it's worth our time. If you're going to watch this obviously uninterrupted, I'll have the link to it in the description of this video. You can go check it out for yourself. What's 1.0 mean to me? What does this mean to me? Even before we sit down and watch the trailer together, it's a sign of respect. That's what I said actually with even Shadowbringers trailer. It's a sign of respect to those who, really kept the game going. Yoshi P allowed us. I'm a legacy player. I paid for 1.0. I was obviously covering the game back then in the podcast form. And we're actually today going to be doing our 100th episode of kind of the Crystal Core Radio podcast. You can check it out on Ginger Gaming Radio if you're curious. We're welcoming Larry Czar and Rook from Bird of Chest over there. So as a 1.0 player, there's been things in the trailer that we'll see that have yet to remain unanswered in my mind. There's a lot of stuff, especially as it relates to Eorzea, that we've obviously had this more, this bigger conflict with the Ascians. And the Ascians were present in 1.0. In fact, if you ever want to be curious as to what an Ascian in 1.0 looks like without having to go to Google and look up, footage of 1.0, you can actually look at some of the boss battles, that you've had with them. I would kind of point to Heavensward. So if you think about when you see an Ascian in Heavensward, that's what they looked like. So very intimidating, very monstrous creatures. When we call back to what 1.0 was, despite its flaws, for me, it communicates this respect of where this journey has gone. I said that like 2.0 was 1.0's apology. 3.0 Heavensward was it's starting to step out of the shadows. Stormblood actually literally like becoming its own thing. And then Shadowbringers just blew it away. It's the shadow analogy that I was using as we moved further and further away from 1.0 really kind of came to a head with Shadowbringers, despite the fact that it was fully in the sun. It was on its own thing, in fact. But obviously we have that day-night cycle that they've talked about and we've covered here and over at Work the Game in detail. So I feel respected. I feel the fact that they're posting this and that they hadn't. In fact, actually, I was looking for it. I had to go back to some old archive footage that I had of the 1.0 trailer. So it's been a long time since we've dove into this, and the fact that they've got it for you to enjoy, I think there is some foreshadowing here that has me excited. And we covered it last week. You'll go that far. Yoshi P's quote about Endwalker has me really thrilled and excited. And I think that if Endwalker can really put a cap on the story, I think the sky's the limit. I think what ends up happening is that instead of continuing to tell an ever bumping the mic story and ever just, kicking the can down the road story, we'd be end up left wanting more, but everything would continue to get watered down because they'd have to make mysteries out of, nothing, or, now this character is going to replace that character. So I'm really thrilled that we're actually seeing kind of an end of the story and the start of something new. And that's thankfully not that much longer to wait. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive into the trailer and let's break it down. So the first thing I do want to point out is the architecture within just that view. When we saw the game originally kind of teased a couple times, it had a very Crystarium-like setup. And we can see the Aetheryte. We can see obviously lots of different characters hanging out in the bar. It is voiced, and this is one of the things that really took me back when I first started actually playing it. We've seen this character before. If you guys have been playing in Shadowbringers, you know that he definitely looks very familiar. And what we're looking at right here is the leave system. This was essentially a system that has now been, for the most part, abandoned, right? Like from a battle leave perspective. So if you were going to sit here and speculate, what does them posting this mean? Does it mean anything for the game? We haven't heard about leaves coming back in the form of battle style content, even though I think it'd be interesting to have another use of leaves. We've only seen them used for crafting and gathering since like Stormblood, and so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It wasn't like this was the most compelling kind of content, but that is how it is. So essentially the designs of these were all the various saints of Final Fantasy XIV. That's kind of what designed the plates. They put a lot of work and intricacy into the leaves because there wasn't a quest system. There wasn't any kind of system that was telling any kind of real main, they had a main story, but in terms of it, like you do some of that, you'd level up by grinding out mobs in the open world, and you had these leaves that had this random cooldown. Yoshi P actually brought in the leave allowance system in which you could actually stock up 100 leaves and then just run them. They had this arbitrary like 48-hour, 36-hour kind of rotating clock that allowed things to reset. So people would log in, they would, take advantage of that, and then they'd bounce out. And so the core design and how you would progress was pretty crazy. But it's to highlight that aspect within the trailer itself, is to highlight kind of this core gameplay aspect, which no longer really exists as a loop. Young Derplander.
Very well.
Now, keen observers will know that we've seen these characters again, and that's essentially when I'm trying to keep it very light on spoilers, but when we get into Shadowbringers, you'll start to see some of these notifications. So you start to wonder, is this taking place? Where is this in fact taking place? But clearly, we have a map of Eorzea in this regards, or at least what we believe to be, from the shape and the size and how everything's kind of placed in the naming and more. This is essentially the Eorzean map.
How long must we wait? I grow weary of the company.
The feeling, my dear, is mutual.
Aha! What do we have here? No job is too daunting as long as the coin is good.
Bah, you'd sell your own mother if the coin was good.
My father, too. Now quiet down and help me decide.
I've no particular preference.
And why does that not surprise me?
I can't underscore, especially when you look back 11 years, how exciting it was that the cutscenes were voiced.
Choose as you will, Midlander.
This beast
Our
in a
fate
frenzy, the likes I've never seen!
Look out! He's right on top of us!
Move, lass, move!
All right, so here we have And we've seen this again with Mordona, like with the trees in the forest and things like that. So this is, and the questions that we had back in the day is like, what's going on? Like, you use these and you're teleported into what's going on. Like, we literally obviously hadn't seen gameplay at that point when we first saw this, just how beautiful this place is. And you just fall into the water as an archer. So got a conjurer. Remember, no jobs back in the day. And we never had any kind of shielding ability like that in 1.0. It wasn't until later. We saw it a couple times from characters, but we never had that as a skill. So we were still like, oh my gosh, you can put out a barrier skill and protect from incoming damage. Marauder. Gladiator. Comet seems way more like action intense. How epic would it be to have, I don't know, a system like that in place today? Building off the environment. This is where we thought, like, are we literally getting like combo to spells abilities? Like, hey, can I cast a flaming arrow for you? Boom. Sinking into the depths of Mordona. You can obviously clearly see that Mordona looks very different than what it currently does. Oh yeah, Garlean airships, man. They look very different from where they do today. Now, we've still seen these models in the game itself, but I haven't seen them. We haven't obviously seen that kind of model regularly in a long time. And they're fighting some dragons, which is really important. All within the same leave quest or something that's going on. So the question would be like, is this the echo at play, taking us to a time and a place, you know, of the past where we get to see the events unfold and we're a part of these airships? Which are a part of a bigger armada. So if you guys note that that's the airship that you guys go to as a part of a dungeon. So I like how ARR still called back to that. So something's coming, and it's Midgar Stormer, the protector of the lake, the keeper of the lake. And this is the Battle of Silvertear Sky, so you see them all looking onward, his companions from earlier. What is happening? So the flagship airship is taken down. And this is also before we even had airships. Back in 1.0, the game launched, and it was the whole part of the story where Sid came into play to help, like, bring about airships between the two city travels. And so this crashes in Mordona, releasing this bright wave of energy, and this story really hasn't continued. But the vision that the hero gets here, the Derplander gets, is obviously out of this energy. What do you expect we're going to get? The primals. So you see Ifrit, and that's the one, you know, this is all happening on Eorzea Titan. So it looks like it's releasing all these primals and monsters, and boom, we're right back.
Look who's returned.
Was this all an echo vision?
So nice of you to join us again.
Well, don't keep us in suspense.
This one. We'll start with this one.
Ah, he speaks.
Can we go now? Let us give the bard something to sing
I still am moved to this day. And then this is where they started to tease us originally with the kind of the design of the logo. They're like pointing to the various weapons. So I remember we spent so much time speculating before they even announced what classes. We're like, okay, what's this weapon? What's this weapon? And it looks like, obviously, like some of it, like you could say, like, is that a samurai sword? Is that a lance? What do we got? Lots of bow and arrows and swords and more, obviously hinting to the kind of classless, or the weapon-based class system that they end up implementing. All right, so what do you guys think about the trailer? Is that the first time that you've seen it? Are you aware of it? Do you have your own theories? Personally speaking, I think this is a really good choice for them to post. Even if it doesn't lead to any kind of foreshadowing of what we're going to experience in Endwalker, it gives a more complete overall story about the game and kind of where we've come from. So it feels appropriate, especially to have 1.0 along with Endwalker. Personally speaking, I think there's a lot that we can derive from it. I hope that we get to start to see answers to this mystery about Mortona. I hope we get to see, obviously more things come into play with Eorzea. And I think we're kind of getting back to that, even though we are back going to the moon. So I don't think the moon is actually the biggest reveal yet. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. We'll be live streaming it. Guys, if you're interested, you want to hang out, I'll be starting off with Reaper, leveling it spoiler free. I do plan on having my full playthrough here on Ginger Prime of Endwalker. I'm going to do my best to make sure that it's going to be a big game. I'm going to see if I can't get it knocked out as quickly as possible, but I do recognize that that's going to be spoiler based content. So if you guys want to, obviously not have it ruined for you, I'll see you later in that regards. I appreciate everybody, obviously, for your time. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic week. If you need anything, you got any questions, let me know. I got some videos to hopefully posted. They'll hopefully help you out. I'm going to leave it at that. This video has been long enough. Thanks so much for your time. Love you faces. We'll see you next time. And until then, take care.
Friendly, fun, and optimistic community. Baby. Coming from an MMO community filled with toxicity, this is an amazing breath of fresh air. Keep it up, baby. Oh, yeah. I just want to say I'm really glad you're feeling